Yo, what is good? Just wanted to say hey and tell you about something I've been getting into recently. Comic books. Comic books have been around since the 1930s, starting with newspaper comic strips and funny miniseries like Dilbert, Popeye, and in later years, Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes. But it wasn't until 1938 that the superhero craze begun. Superman issue number 1. If you know anything about comic books, or if you're a comic book collector, you would know this is the holy grail of all comic books. Recently selling at auction for $5.3 million. That's the equivalent of owning a 2-bedroom apartment in LA. The series was created by two men, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, and released April 18th, 1938. The comic series would last for a record 74 years, and to this day, no comic series has ever lasted as long. They ended the Man of Steel's run with Superman ending battle on October 13th, 2012. Funny enough, it was actually around the same time, 2012, that we thought the world was gonna just magically explode because of like the ancient Mayans. But maybe in that dimension we did get, exploded, and we just got shifted to a dimension where it didn't. You never know. Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Iron Man, all belong to this modern day behemoth of a franchise, Marvel Studios. Back in the day, Timely Comics was created by a man named Martin Goodman, who had previously worked for a company named Pulp Magazine, but wanted to start his own company and soon hired a few people to help him: Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and a few others, including a young teenager named Stan Lee, who would later be known as the face of the mainstream comic book industry. A big part of Marvel's start actually was not just like superhero comics and little funny, comics or whatever. It was actually a lot of propaganda. A few years after the war, Timely Comics would change their name from Timely Comics to Atlas Comics, before finalizing their name to the name we all know and love, Marvel Comics. After changing their name to Marvel Comics, a lot of big projects would come from it. It was the official merge of Atlas Comics and Timely Comics to make one big company of comic book icons. The first one to pop off was by Stan Lee himself, the Fantastic Four. In November of 1961, Stan Lee and Marvel Comics released the project, and it blew readers' minds. It was targeted toward more adult audiences, including deeper concepts and deeper and more graphic visuals. And the rest is history. Kinda. In 2008, the revolutionary blockbuster hit Iron Man would release, changing the way superhero movies were made indefinitely. The movie itself was iconic, but the thing that set it apart from most movies was the most boring part, the end credits. Usually we get a 15-minute long wait of every single person that helped with CGI, lighting, effects, etc. But this time we were met with a sneak preview of what could happen next. At the end of Iron Man, we can see Iron Man walking into his home as he's greeted by a mysterious man with an eye patch, Nick Cannon. Oh, I meant Cage. Sorry, I meant Fury. Imagine Nick Cannon if he was Tyson Fury. Fuck, Nick Fury. And the next movie to release from the Marvel line was The Incredible Hulk, but we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. The movie takes place after Tony Stark reveals himself as Iron Man, and the backlash that comes with it, as a mad engineer teams up with other villains to try and destroy Iron Man. And at the end of the movie, we get another beautifully made end credits, where most people like myself didn't really understand what was going on. The comic book nerds were wetting themselves. Thor was a great movie as well, and also contained the web of end credit scenes that all would lead to what could happen in the next movie. And it worked perfectly to keep everyone in the theaters until the very end, waiting in anticipation for what could come next, until we finally got the movie we all wanted. This was the first movie of its kind, a movie that seemed like a way drawn out TV show, but with way more hype. And after about 4 Avenger movies and a few little sprinkles of, collabs of Avenger movies, we get Avengers Endgame. And at the very end of Endgame, we get one of the biggest upsets in movie history. Spoiler alert, Iron Man died. But it wasn't the end of the monstrous franchise. They kept making movies and even moved a lot of their shows to Disney Plus, which honestly I haven't watched like any of them. I'm not gonna lie. After Iron Man, I just couldn't keep watching. Unless it's like our little Tom Holland spider swingy boy, I'm down anytime to like watch him in a movie. In conclusion, Marvel really outdid themselves with this really long, drawn-out series. The amount of effort and great storytelling, taking what they could from the comics, was just really nice. And if they ended with Endgame, I probably would have been pretty happy, but money is money. And besides Spider-Man, I'd probably go watch the new Deadpool movies because they're always funny, and I like Deadpool. Or if like Avengers and Deadpool like teamed up, I would be so happy. DC also tried to do a similar thing recently where they attempted to make a Marvel style series where they're all coming together and they're all working together so they can defeat a bad guy with crossing over movies, and it was ass. I watched Batman vs Superman and I was more confused than anything. In my opinion, it was a total flop. One thing that DC does have over Marvel though is Batman. I love Batman. I've read roughly 60 comics in the past year, and about 70% of them are Batman. Bruce Wayne, from what I understand, is just a very deep character who's very simple at the same time. I'm not gonna kill, and I'm gonna kick your ass. But he faces a lot of adversity and betrayals, which really kind of just carve him into the man that he becomes. And my favorite series from Batman that I've read so far is probably the Batman White Knight series, written by Sean Murphy. That shit fire, bro. The interesting thing about the Batman White Knight series is it's not putting the Joker as the main bad guy. It's trying to make Batman look like the bad guy, which is interesting because after reading the comic, you learn that it's totally the opposite still, but Joker's a lot smarter in this series. After a crazy night in Gotham of Batman chasing the Joker ends up pleading insanity and saying that the reason why he's crazy is because of Batman. And then everybody ends up believing the Joker and saying, yeah, he's kind of right, in theory, he's destroying the whole entire city every time something like this happens, and why wouldn't we, agree? Joker starts taking his medication, starts getting better, and then starts to work on his own Gotham police force to take down Batman. It gets crazy from there. I don't want to spoil it if you're going to read it, or if you want to watch Comic Historian, he'll read you the whole series in like an hour. Comics are probably one of the most perfect ways for me to just relax, flip through a few pages, and escape from life for a little bit. Not to mention there's a lot of fighting, which is really cool. And another thing about comics which is cool is it's kind of like having a trading card that you can read. That's kind of cool. If I was to recommend a Marvel comic that I'm trying to get into or I want to read, probably recommend Superior Spider-Man. It's where Spider-Man gets possessed by Doc Ock and then becomes like a mafia boss. And when it comes to Batman, the most recent series I've been reading is Batman Year One, which just goes over Batman and his beginning from when his parents died to the first year that he's Batman, which is pretty cool. I look forward to reading more comics, and if I have any updates on them, I'll make another video. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any comic books you want me to read. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Beep, beep, beep.